Churches and public parks are also providing relief for the people of Atlanta, giving them water and access to air conditioning to help them beat the heat. And now a third whistleblower is coming forward alleging that Boeing is cutting corners. This after 2 previous whistleblowers have died. First off, break out your umbrellas because it's about to get wet this week with Athens' first real stretch of rain since Hurricane Helene in September. As high interest rates and housing prices put homeownership on hold for many Americans, big corporate investors are buying up houses in entire neighborhoods to rent them out. And they're not renting them out for very cheap. Dozens of homeless people were sleeping in the atrium of the Atlanta airport. That is until city officials intervened. They removed seating and passed an ordinance that limits access to only travelers and those with airport business. Now, most polls closed just about an hour ago here in Georgia, and elections officials and poll workers are counting your votes. And be sure to bring your valid photo ID with you, such as your driver's license, your passport, or your voter identification card. The future generation is in the hands of our local educators. Grady News Source reporter Christian Andrade shows us how you can provide help and support to teachers in this area. The astronauts were only supposed to be in orbit for a week, but a helium leak and problems with the Starliner's thrusters have kept them in space for much longer than expected. In last Saturday's game against Florida, over 30% of the Dogs' drives ended in a punt. Legal experts say that Buster Murdaugh's case will likely be won or lost, depending on if he's considered a public figure. And if he is, then defamation could be much harder for him to prove. This is Yellen's second visit to Georgia this year. The vice president was in town earlier this week attending a gun violence summit. In Atlanta, Melanie Levi, Fox News. Conditions at the Fulton County Jail are so bad that Sheriff Pat Labat is pushing for a new $2 billion facility to be built. But commissioners opted for a $300 million renovation instead.
Anybody that doesn't think Fulton County needs a new facility is not living on this planet.
Repairs to the jail are ongoing, but the sheriff says that the constant fixing simply isn't sustainable.
Building the infrastructure itself is out of date. The materials that were used are no longer used.
An entire wing of the county jail is under restoration. Parts of the building are uninhabitable and overcrowded, often leading to inmates sleeping on the floor. Sheriff Labat says 10 stabbings have occurred within the jail in the past month, and they've retrieved over 4,000 of these homemade knives made from the building's infrastructure since 2022. There have been suicides, stabbings, and one inmate was eaten alive by bedbugs, prompting the Department of Justice to open an investigation into the inmates' living conditions. In Atlanta, Melanie Levi, Fox News. 3 Georgians enjoying their lunches earlier today, now hospitalized and being treated for gunshot wounds.
Where like the pizza places and like the Mexican restaurant, there was blood all over the place.
Authorities say 34-year-old Jeremy Malone of Clayton County entered the Hub at Peachtree Center around 2 o'clock this afternoon, got into a physical fight with one of his victims, then opened fire with a handgun. Malone is a convicted felon and has 11 previous arrests, leaving authorities questioning how he acquired a gun in the first place.
This is an individual that should never have been possessing a gun.
An off-duty police officer who happened to be at the food court confronted the shooter, ultimately stopping his shooting spree. The cop shot Jeremy Malone, then kicked his gun away from him. Malone was injured, but not killed.
He was able to bring safety to all these people that were in that food court.
My thoughts was I was never going to make it home to my son, and that scared me.
Police identified Malone's victims as a 47-year-old man from Grayson, a 69-year-old woman from East Point, and a 70-year-old woman from Atlanta. All are expected to survive their injuries. In Atlanta, Melanie Levi, Fox News. Barrow County residents are finding themselves living in a painful new reality, the aftermath of the September 4th Appalachia High School shooting. Parents in particular are concerned about their students' mental well-being. That's why local businesses such as Stars and Strikes of neighboring Decula are taking steps to help their community.
We just wanted to give them a moment to forget about all the trauma and everything going on.
Just a week after the shooting, the Georgia-based bowling alley chain opened early for Appalachia High School students to bowl and play arcade games for free. Hundreds of students came out to enjoy themselves on September 9th and 10th from 10 a.m. to noon. The parking lot outside filled with uplifting notes written on students' cars. Because the school has been closed to students since the shooting, some of these teens haven't seen each other since that day. The bowling alley has given them a lighthearted atmosphere to reconnect with one another.
So many hugs and smiles, and one of the students said that it was the first time she had smiled since everything happened.
Jillian Edwards, an employee of Stars and Stripes Tequila and mother to an Appalachia High School student, spoke to me about her own family's experience on September 4th.
As soon as I knew he was okay, I was good. So I don't live in the world of the parents where their kids are not okay. So I'm just grateful for that.
She says she is thankful her son has been able to take his mind off of what happened by bowling. In Tequila, Georgia, Melanie Levi, Grady News Source.